Alright, so I decided to do some video on air conditioning conversion because although it's not a very popular mod, there are some people that insist on having air conditioning. So we'll get right down to brass tacks. The easiest way to convert R12 to 134A is to get some of these fittings right here, like what you're seeing. They will screw on to the Schrader valve for R12 and convert to 134. While this is incredibly convenient, and it may actually work for you a while, the downside is that the oil from R12 will eventually wear out the compressor, and it may even cause leaks in the hoses. So the purest way to do it is to not only install these, but to clean out everything. But the most important part is the adaptation, and that's what the substance, the meat and potatoes of this video are supposed to be about. So let's start off with a 7M compressor that comes with probably every year of the Supra. This one happens to be an 87. But this hat here, this piece that bolts to the top of the compressor is the crux of the biscuit. You need this piece, whether you have it from an old compressor or you got to go to the store and buy a remanufactured one. You need that hat to do it this way. So if you look here, this is the way the JZ compressor hat works. There's sort of an angle on this side and an angle on that side. And I'm take this to mean that the suction side must have some kind of vacuum port somewhere, because this hat does not have a vacuum port. If you look at the 7M hat, you'll notice that there is a vacuum port on this hat. And so that's what makes it so convenient, because it bolts up and it will accept the factory hoses, and it still has the vacuum port right here. You can see that. So here we have the 7M hat on top of the JZ compressor. See, now you have a vacuum port. I haven't cranked it down yet because I wanted to make sure it did fit. So that's what that picture is about. Now I have the old hoses mocked up on here just to see if there would be any kind of fitment issue. Now, I did wind up deleting this, and this is going to be another video about this because there's also questions about this oil filter, water filter thingamajiggy. And, you know, some people want to delete it, some people aren't sure. Mine's gone, and we'll get into that at some other point. Anyway, so the next problem you're going to come across is that the power steering bracket, it bolts up still, but now you have these hoses that are not at an angle to go around the bracket. They're sticking up right in the bracket. And this bracket has been ground already, but you can see that it used to be about that big right there. So there's no way that was going to fit. This is what you hear about people talking about the grinding mod. Okay, so let's go to, you can see right here how close the fit is. I think I had grounded a few times to see if it would fit, and then it finally fit. But here, this picture is just the new hoses. I got these from Rock Auto. They were fairly easy to find. They're with very little modification. I will point out that I had to grind a little bit on that edge to fit this suction port. I don't know why Rock Auto sometimes has parts that almost fit, but they don't. I don't know what other vehicle those pieces might have fit on, but they did, apparently. So here's another picture. I want to point out the JZ compressor comes with a harness that is plugged into another harness. There's some kind of 4-plug thing that goes down to, I think, a speed sensor switch. If it detects that it locks up, then it locks out the compressor. But your 7M harness is going to have this plug sticking out very near the battery. So you won't need this stuff, which I took off. So that's what this picture is about. This is another picture of after it got ground, and the port is still not converted to 134, but this is just kind of another picture I took to remember some things. I wound up grounding the compressor magnetic clutch to this screw hole right here on the JZ compressor. And I think the screws that were on the hat are the same pitch and thread, so you can use one of those screws here to ground everything and to mount your harness plug, which is what I did right there. You can see in the background I've taken off the air and oil cooler thing, and I actually put the 7M oil cooler on it. I'm going to make a video on how this is compatible and what I did. That's another story. So here we go. This is an example of how you should grind the power steering bracket right here. See there's just a little bit of space. To me, I really don't want the engine vibrating on the top of this. I want them to be separate so that, you know, vibration damage doesn't occur. And you can see here closely how I had to grind off a little bit of this so that it would meet that angle for the HVAC port, for the, you know, to put that new fitting on there for the suction side to add or remove gas. Here's another really close up right there. This one, why do I have this one? Another close up, I guess, to show you the bracket. And here's with the whole power steering pump with that back bracket hooked up with all of it connected. I think that was why I took that picture. And then here you can see the bolt is so freaking close. I actually had to tighten it and turn it to where the flat side of that bolt was butted up against here. And it just worked out perfect for me. Maybe, well, hopefully others will be so lucky to do it this way, but I've done a lot of fabrication in my life. I've rigged up so much I can't even begin to tell you. So this is kind of a finished mock-up, sorta, with those new lines from Rock Auto, and I have the 7M oil cooler. This one's actually causing more interference than it would if you just kept your twin turbos and you do the, you know, keep the oil water cooler thingy. You'll have a better time than what I did, but you know, I'm stubborn like that, and I need to, for some reason I create my own problems, and that's just what it is. Why did I have this in here? This is the coolant flow chart for the JZ engines. I'll go ahead and sit here for a minute in case anybody needs this. I was just putting this out here because I actually was able to remove the oil filter cooler thing to add the oil cooler only from the 7M engine. And I have the coolant passage plugged up on the block like the normal GE engines do that don't have that extra cooler. And it runs just fine. It runs very cool. I think this is an important thing to know when you're doing heating and cooling, so you know which way the water's flowing and whatnot. But again, that's another video. But I just wanted to make this short video about how this adapts. And I think I'm gonna probably do a 2 or 3 part video thing on this. I may call this part this is video number 1, because this is the physical part of adapting it, but it doesn't have anything to do really with the electrical or how you're gonna add refrigerant. And how are you gonna make sure everything's working? The manual, like I always say, the factory manual is most important to get into the electric as far as all of this is concerned. But you can do it. I know you can. I believe in you.